Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident Podcast, a weekly chat about socially conscious topics impacting the culture. And welcome to Sambaza, host and creator of the Sambaza podcast. He is a two-time nominee for Best African Diasporan Podcast, and he is from the Republic of Kenya. He has been a presenter at the Afros Audio Podcast Festival discussing Pan Africanism, and he is slated to be a 2024 ambassador for Afros and Audios podcast. Welcome, Sambaza.
Oh, thank you, Jen. Glad to
How's it
be here.
going?
Oh,
Yeah,
everything's going on great
great.
and ready for the show.
Good, good. And so, thank you guys for tuning in and being flexible with us. We made some changes and we kind of did some impromptu things this week, but you guys joined us and we appreciate that. So please remember to join and subscribe, like, tell a friend, share it out. We appreciate you guys so much with the content that we've been doing. And yeah, we appreciate you guys. So today, we do have a great episode for you today talking about autism awareness. And so we definitely wanted to highlight this and get into a discussion about it. It is a condition that affects so many people in our community. And we just thought, we both know people and people in our friend group and family who are dealing with it. And we just really wanted to get into this topic and share with the community and have a great conversation about it. So, I want to share a definition. And this is actually from Wikipedia. So, it shares autism spectrum disorder is a developmental disability caused by differences in the brain. People with ADS often have problems with social communication and interaction and restricted or repetitive behaviors or interests. So, people with ADS may have different ways of learning, moving, or paying attention. So, I wanted to establish that kind of basic definition, and we'll get into a great conversation. We do have a special guest planned for you guys
Yes,
today. Sambaza share.
these are guests that are on the show. That's what I was trying to remind you. You said guests.
Yes, we do. We do have special guests. So we're excited about that. And they actually are parents of a child with autism. And so they have graciously agreed to have a conversation with us and talk about what they have experienced. And so we're really excited to have that for you today with our conversation. Anything to share before we bring in our guests, Simbaza?
Um, I am really curious to learn today, and there's a lot that we have to unpack. And I think for me, it's probably a bit emotional, to be very honest. But I think it's something that we have to discuss at one point in time. So yeah, uh, I'm sure it'll be a great show.
Thank you. All right. I appreciate that for sure. And so we will bring in Devon Villians. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. How are you guys doing this evening?
Good, good.
Good. And thank you for joining us. Denise and Nikki Bonvillian are the parents that we mentioned, and they have a child with autism, and they will have a conversation with us about what they have experienced. So, Sambaza?
All right, we'll start it off. Um, what are the earliest signs or symptoms that led to the diagnosis of autism in your child?
Well, my background is early childhood education. So my job is to teach children basically from birth to 5. And in the classroom, when you have children that you're working with, you always have to have more of like a rolling informal assessment of things that they can and they can't do to make sure that they are meeting their milestones developmentally. So, with having that skill as a teacher and having children, it kind of gave me that inside look of seeing a lot of red flags in my own child. and bringing it to the attention of his pediatrician that I had concerns about his developmental milestones. So he was missing a lot of them where he wasn't sitting up unsupported at a certain age. And I
Mhm.
understand that children develop at different rates and different times, but a lot of his milestones were slagging well past like the grace period. It's just like, okay, at 6 or 9 months, this kids should be sitting up unsupported on their own. Their
Mhm.
core strength should be a lot stronger,
Mhm.
where his was not. So that was a concern for me. Then he didn't crawl. um, his speech was coming in word by word, but then he was, as quickly as he was gaining it, he was losing it. So he would gain a word here, and then he would learn a new word and then forget the old word. So we didn't have like a building block of speech. It was just one
Mhm.
word here, one word there, and then one word just kind of stuck. And that was the only word that we ever had. So it's like he started saying daddy first. He said it maybe once or twice, and then it went away. And then
Mhm.
mama came in, and that was the only word he had for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And we had a few words here and there, but there was no speech. His walking was delayed. We didn't walk until we were like almost 1.5, almost two. His
Okay.
walking was kind of iffy, so it was a lot of red flags that we saw. And to get the pediatrician on board and voice our concern for her to refer us out to get an evaluation for early intervention services.
Okay.
But that was not a formal diagnosis, because as many parents who have children that are on the spectrum know, it is hurdles and hoops you have to jump through to even get a formal diagnosis. There's many waiting lists and many
Oh,
years. So it's like you have to be very proactive and get out there, and literally you have to run with the ball every day, call every day just to get that diagnosis. But with all of those missing milestones, that is what kind of led us to um, seeking some type of help, because like I said, I was a teacher and I saw red flags, and it would be a disjustice to my child to ignore it, because as a parent, you don't want anything to ever be wrong with your child. When they're born,
right.
you look at them as being they're perfect in every way. But you see something that's just like, no, and parents tend to ignore it because it's just like, oh, they're a baby, they're gonna outgrow it. But sometimes those mindsets of just kind of ignoring it and allowing it to, as they say, out the child to outgrow it, does disservice, because there are more
Mhm.
underlying problems when you ignore it, and versus getting immediate intervention services.
And you mentioned that it's not immediate, getting a test and getting a diagnosis. It's kind of a process.
Yes, it is a process. Although I
Mhm.
was a teacher, and I worked with children on the spectrum, I've always referred parents out. Hey, we were doing an assessment in class, and I've been watching your child over the course of maybe 6 months or so, 6 weeks or so, and it's like they're not hitting the milestones. Kind of working with the family to see if maybe it's something that I can do that in the classroom that they're doing at home, to better assist. But when we come together as a village to try to assist that child in the milestones are not being met, then we have to
Mhm.
seek other solutions. That, okay, we need to dig deeper. There may be something more that we're missing. So
Mhm.
I refer them out, and once I will give the parents that information, that's it. My job is done because I've done my part. But now the parent with a child that his teacher did not see the red flags. I did. I caught them.
Okay.
So I was the advocate and was like, hey, something's wrong. She was in denial, saying that, hey, he's a baby, I think you just overreacted and X, Y, and Z. So I'm like, No. But I thought initially, once you raise that concern, you immediately get, hey, let's get diagnosed. But once I got the intervention, it's just like, okay, this is just the first door to getting closer, but you're still at the beginning. The finish line is like halfway across the world. Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's
Okay.
very frustrating.
Hmm. Yeah, Sambaza.
And question: With the Was this your first child or this was your second child?
This is our
And it
second.
is This is
Yeah, this is
second. So
this is our
did it
second.
help having the first child? So you talked about milestones. So you were comparing the milestones from the first child over
Correct.
to the second child. Okay.
So, people always say you never compare your children, but because they're different. And it's right. Every pregnancy is different. Every child was different, you know, but I compared after seeing those red flags. It's just like, okay, I remember when my daughter was this age, what was she doing? So it's like I had to dig back into my memories, like, okay, she was walking at 10 months. She set up before 6 months.
Hmm.
I mean, she was doing a lot. She was more independent before she was one.
Right.
So whereas he was kind of lagging and we gave him some leeway, but even comparing him to his peers. So it's
Mhm.
like, okay, we're all in here. We have all of these kids in this classroom. You go into school and everyone's flourishing, everyone's thriving. And it's like they're walking, they're crawling, they're rolling over, but it's like you're not catching up. It's not, the gap is never closed. There's always a major gap in between. They're walking, they're crawling, they're running. We're just learning how to sit unsupported.
Mm,
So
okay.
it was like, okay, so we have to figure out what support we need to get him where he has to be, because we work with him at home with the tummy time and playing the little games, but it still it didn't work. Nothing was really helping. So it's like, okay, as a teacher, there's only so many tools that I was able to use, because that's a different spectrum for me. It's like working with autistic children in a
Hmm.
classroom setting versus giving them therapy or intervention services. That's like that's a whole different ball game for me in my career. It's like I have no knowledge of that. So I set up many nights researching and reading books and watching TikToks and sitting on support pages and going to
Hmm.
support groups, just trying to get an insight on basically where do I start? Now that I know this, where do I start? Because there's no information given to you saying, hey, this is what's going on with your child. And here's the guideline, here's the book, here's the pamphlet. It's just like, hey, this is what's going on, and here's your referral. And you have to call and, like I said, jump through hoops and email, call, research, because you're trying to get the best for your child.
Right.
And it feels like it seems like everybody's crumb feeding you little bits at a time, instead of just saying, hey, this is everything you need. I'm going to give you the key to the door. Go through this door, and there's all the information you need. It's just not. And it's like it's frustrating when you have all the little bit of information, all of the information that's out there, instead of them just giving it to you in a large chunk. You're just crumb fed piece by piece. And it's like, oh, I got this one crumb. All right, now I need to eat this crumb to get to that crumb, to figure out what's the next, hurdle I have to get, to jump over. It's just like, it's a lot.
Hmm. And so at some point you were referred to a specialist. I guess how did that process, or once you did, make that contact with a specialist, did things get better for you or start therapy or?
Not exactly. We got referred out, and we called the number, because it's multiple numbers you call.
Mhm.
And early intervention in our parish is early steps. So with early steps, you have to call, you have to give your referral, you have to wait for them to accept the referral. You set an evaluation date, because the pediatrician telling them that there's a delay is not enough. So they have to do their evaluation to see if the evaluation, if the referral is going to stick. So it's just like they have to see the evidence, basically, of what you told the pediatrician and what the pediatrician told them. There is basically like, I gotta see if it's true. We're gonna evaluate you, and the evaluation was like an hour and a half, where
Mm.
it's like a lot of questions, and the child has to perform certain things that they're asking via computer, since all of this happened during COVID. So a
Mm.
lot of the evaluations happen at home.
Right.
So,
Okay.
and virtually. So it's like they were asking a bunch of questions about, hey, how does he play? What's his routine and everything? And then after that, they deliberate. It's like the four people that are literally drilling you on the other end of that screen of what can your child do? Can your child do this? Let me see them do this. Hey, Carmichael, can you do this? X, Y, and Z, asking questions and talking. And then after they've concluded, they score him. They tell you the score and explain what the score means. And they'll let you know if you basically have been pushed through to the next the next
Step.
the next step.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then from that step, they give you a pamphlet because they don't give you a exact person to like, hey, okay, now that you've been approved, here's who's gonna be your therapist. They give you a list. It's like 6 or 7 pages long. Call through this list of therapists. He needs speech, he needs occupational therapy, he needs special education. Call through this list and see what they have available. So you're sitting there literally calling through 6 pages worth of, and it's like 24, 25 people on each page
Oh wow.
calling
Mm-hmm.
to find a therapist that's willing to work with you or has an opening or has a waiting list. So and a lot of times those waiting lists are years long,
Right.
months long. So it's not like I call today and like you get a doctor's appointment. It's like, oh, I'm scheduled. I got something open next week. No, it's years and years long. Once someone calls you back and it's like, oh, hey, I have something available. Are you available? No, I'm not available, but I can make myself available.
Yeah.
I will call off from work. I will pick kids up early from school, to be available so he can receive this service. So you can evaluate him and see if the schedule fits. Once we got everything together, now it's like devising the schedule. How many times a week? How many days a week? And we start with that. So
Yeah, I think answering your one of your questions you just asked about the list or the next step. I think like we live in Louisiana. In Louisiana we have parishes, so
Mm-hmm.
that we have counties and then we have parishes, and we live in New Orleans. So New Orleans is a whole nother ball game compared to other cities, major cities, and um, out there. A lot of funding is not there. A lot of old school ways. Still, I guess you could say that some people still turn a blind eye to certain things. So
Mm.
that's why uh, it takes for a while to get services. My wife said, like they might um, give you the run. I don't want. I'll say give you the runaround. I'll give you this list of names and just call. Basically, you do all the work, and you don't have the support really here um,
Right.
on the government side or the fund or the not. I don't want to just say government side, but just like on the local side, there's not a lot of support. So like she says, she joins Facebook pages and other mothers pages.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm only speaking from our experience here in this city. I know, for her doing her research and us looking, other cities and states, they have a lot more to offer
yeah,
parents who have um,
children on
children
the
on the
spectrum.
spectrum or children who have been diagnosed. So I know the struggles that she has been through, just researching and looking and trying to call, and like she said, taking taking this appointment when even though I scheduled it and worked with it, we had to take it because the service was available now. I mean,
Right.
she just told me the other day, like she called and called every month for this one particular service, and then they finally told her we got something available this month, so she's going to take it this month because
Look at
it was a year out. It was a year out, and she finally called.
Wow.
Finally, somebody dropped off. Somebody, I guess canceled the appointment or the service, so something came up open, and she grabbed it. But us as parents and doing the work, you got to put the leg in the call. They don't call you. They don't
right.
tell you nothing. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing being told to you like, oh, do this, do that. You are your own encyclopedia. You got to do
You
everything.
have to do
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
You know.
Oh,
Wow.
So I have a
No.
question here,
Mhm.
Jen, and this is I'll start off with you, Nikki. When when all this started up
Mhm,
and you received your child's autism diagnosis,
mhm.
what was your initial reaction? and how has your perspective changed um, over time? We'll start
You
off with
know,
you, Nikki, and explain. Then Denise, you can jump in and add on to it as well.
yeah. To be honest with you, when Denise first told me, like I think, when she first came to me and told me, because she gave y'all her background and all that. Like any parent, you kind of be in denial. I had my, I guess you could say, I had my little brick wall up. I don't know, okay, yeah, but he's gonna grow out of it. He's gonna do this. He'll be all right. He's a boy. But then sitting through doctor's appointments, and then listen to her research stuff, giving me information. I'm at work. She's sending me videos. She's sending me texts of different things. Did you look at this? Did you read this? The doctor said this. You know, I became more open, and things became a lot more clear to me that, okay, yeah, my son is possibly, he does, he fits the whole category. He fits, I don't want to say in this category, but he has everything that is pinpoint to him to be on a spectrum or to have autism.
Mhm.
So the initial diagnosis for me, Stephen, I think every man, don't want their son. They want their son to kind of be like them. Do this, do that, and this. And I guess I kind of, not saying my son won't be able to do some of the stuff that, but there are some things that I know that he won't be able to do that I did as a kid, or you did as a kid, or maybe your kids or someone else's kids can do, because he will be limited, and he will be on certain things. And I have grown a new respect for parents who have done who do this on a daily basis is a challenge.
Mhm.
But you know, my little boy, uh, I think if everyone had his personality in the world and treat people the way he treats people, and the smile that he lights up the room, man, I think this place would be a better place to be. And um, I'm proud of him, all the steps he's making in his younger life. And yeah, it's challenging. He fights us. He gives us the blues, but
Yeah.
but he- there are a lot of things that when he does something, we look and we're like, oh, and like I go in the corner, I'm like, yes. And I know she does the same thing, because it's exciting to see him get that growth, and
Mhm.
to get that. So for me, yeah, it was tough at first to swallow that pill, but I think as the years have gone on, and the months and the days, um, I'm proud of my son. I'm proud of my son has. I don't use it. Oh, my son has autism as a crutch. I don't use it as to get
Mhm.
sympathy from people, because I just like, and look, I just tell people up front, like, look, my son has autism. He's going to tell you hi 1,000 times, you know. But hey, you know what? That's my little boy, and this is him, and that's his personality, and I love it, and I love it, man, So yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
What you described about what you were dealing with, Ms. Denise, with, trying to get answers and resources, that sounds like a really big challenge. And then to add another layer, this is during the pandemic, which I didn't even think about the
Right.
additional challenges. So what would you say is the biggest hurdle you've had to, deal with?
Uh, the biggest hurdle, lack of information,
Mhm.
not from not from like the world, but it's just lack of information
locally, locally.
that the doctors give you. So
Yeah.
that's a challenge for me because they're not as transparent as you may think. And as a parent, you really got to do all of the work. I understand being an advocate for your child. I advocate for both my kids, whatever they do. But like with this, situation, you really have to advocate for them. It's like you have to do your research. You have to ask for them to, hey, I feel like his levels are low. He's maybe
Mhm.
deficiency right here. I'm like, hey, he's mouthing a lot. Could it be this? So you have to go in instead of them doing their job as in let us find out what the problem is. We see this X, Y, and Z. You literally have to go in armed with everything,
Yeah.
like
Mm,
everything, your questions,
Yeah.
your research, your
mhm.
concerns, your requests. Because if you don't ask, they're not going to tell you. They don't tell you
Okay.
anything. If you're just going there and expecting a doctor to be so transparent to the fact that, hey, I'm a doctor, I have a medical degree, I went to medical school, I know X, Y, and Z. You're saying your child's on the spectrum.
We don't.
You're saying that, but he looks fine.
Right.
What he looks fine. It's just like, try telling that to somebody who's depressed, but they're smiling on the outside. Oh, you're not depressed because you're smiling all the time. You,
Mhm.
I'm
And
like, I mean, the
I think the piggyback off what she just said, the biggest challenge with with the doctors, you go to these appointments, you sit there, and I hate to put it like this, but if your child doesn't
fit
show
their criteria.
show anything that day, or
Right.
doesn't act up, or he sits there calm and collective, or whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
Oh, your son is fine. There's nothing perfectly wrong with him.
Yeah, I mean,
You
he's
know,
just being
Mm,
he
the
just
thing that I hear all the time. He's just being a kid. I'm like,
yeah,
I work with kids all day long, and I went to school, early childhood education. Kids have, you know, predictable behavior, things that you predict, typical children. Because I'm not gonna say normal, because normal, what is normal? Define
right.
normal.
Mhm.
So you have your typical child and you have your atypical child. My child is atypical. He's not gonna do exactly what peers his age are doing. He's very assertive. So it's just like he'll get in your face and he's all under your clothes because it's the lack of social cues.
so
So
cute.
he doesn't
Okay.
understand that as a boundary, I cannot take my hands and put him under your clothes. But he doesn't see anything wrong with that because he feels like I'm just being friendly. He wants to play. Or, he's a little bit rough around the edges. So he'll grab you, but he'll grab you a little rough and squeeze you, but it's not intentionally to hurt you. He's just excited and wants to play. Whereas your
Mm,
typical child knows how to initiate contact with, hey, I want to play. Do you want, I want to play trucks? Let's play trucks. Well, he can't communicate in that way. His way of communicating is, hey, I'm going to come and I'm all in your face. I'm all on top of you. I'm going to tell you hi a million times. But it's not anything to be intentionally disrespectful or rude or to be
mhm,
aggressive. He's not aggressive, but that behavior is seen as aggressive. But
mhm,
to sit there and say that, oh, he's sitting calmly, he's not, acting up. Oh, he's fine. He's just like any other child. Like, but he's not. He thinks differently.
right.
His way that he reacts to situations are different than his counterparts. So to
Right.
say that he doesn't look on the exterior, he from the exterior he doesn't look autistic. I'm like, well, how do you look autistic?
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, well, he's not spinning around and he's not flapping his arms. Well, everybody stems differently. My child loves physical stimulation, so we climb a lot. He mouths a lot. He likes to ride on a bike. He has physical, sensory. He's always physically sensory seeking.
Right.
So the way he seeks sensory is different than other kids that are also on the spectrum. That's why it's called a spectrum, because there are higher levels, lower levels, middles, in between. Everyone operates differently.
Okay.
And I have a question here. I like the way you been explaining to the behavioral effects of a child who's on the spectrum, and this brings out this particular question that I have. I'm asking: how do you explain autism to siblings or other family members first, and then how do they typically respond? Because I think here I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I know Carmichael. I've seen him grow,
Mhm.
and yeah, we have our thing. Um, he understands everything I say, and we have our own special thing. Like right now, when we started off the conversation, I know when we were all in the green room. we usually say "hey," and
Uh-huh.
that's
Yeah.
how he says uncle. So he
Right.
always asks for
Okay.
uncle, and he goes like "hey." That's our sign between me and
Right.
him all the time. And even if I tell him something, he understands every bit of word, but he's nonverbal. But
Right.
to us, we look at him as normal, and we don't see any different. But then, how do you explain it to siblings, and even to the first time you started telling your other, your siblings, and tell them, hey, our son has something going on with him, and other family members. How do you start off telling them and explaining to them, and then and I think this is new also, and then how do they respond?
Um,
You wanna go?
um, I'll let you go first.
Okay. Well, when we received Carmichael's formal diagnosis, because the formal diagnosis is basically the key to the other side of the spectrum. You get this piece of paper, and once again, they don't tell you what to do with it. It's just like go and find what you need. So with having that, there was relief with me knowing exactly what was wrong and how to help him, how to get the services. But then it came to the part with explaining to his sister, who I'm just gonna say from the joint, she was not too enthusiastic about having a baby brother.
Right.
But she was excited about the baby, all together. She was expecting a girl, but she grew to love him. And finding out that he was autistic, her initial reaction was she cried
Mm.
because
Oh,
she knew about autism, but not because we told it to her or taught it to her. It's mostly kids learn how other kids learn from school through their peers. But their peers only know so much. So she heard about it in a very negative way.
Right.
Whereas, at school, kids are normally bullied when they're not like their other peers. They're not like the typical child. They're slower. They're not verbal, or they need certain things to help accommodate them, or they make weird noises, or they're rocking. So it's it's seen as bullying, at school.
Mhm.
And of course, she goes to school with children who are, on the spectrum and who are ADHD and all. So it's all walks of life
Mhm.
at the school. But when you have peers that are bullying kids because they are different and they don't understand them, that's what your child sees. That's what they learn. That's
Mhm.
how they, associate things together. So initially, when I told her, "Hey, we have some information that has come to light about your brother. We took him to the doctor, X, Y, and Z. Your brother is on the spectrum. That means he's autistic." So explaining it to her is like, your brother's still a kid, just like you. I said, but
He plays different.
he has differences, kind of like in our household. It's like trying to explain it to her in a way that she understood. Because mind you, he was what, 2
Too.
when we got his
Yeah.
diagnosis, and they're 6 years apart.
Mhm.
So she's 8. So you have to explain it in a way that an 8-year-old can really understand without using a
Right.
lot of,
Right.
medical jargon that is like, what? What are you talking about? So it's like, okay, in our household, you and me are the same because we're female. Your brother and your daddy are the same because you're male. We can see that. I said, but we have differences. Differences that we can see on the outside. As far as like color and hair and height. You know, but our minds are different. We think differently.
Right.
What I like, you
Mhm.
may not like. What your daddy likes, you may not like. So your brother's brain is also, different. He learns
Mhm.
differently. Not saying that he can't learn. It's just that things that we do may be a little bit difficult for him, for his eating, with utensils or walking,
Mhm. Mhm.
communicating. So we have to find
Feelings.
ways, yeah, expressing anything.
Expressing feelings. Yeah.
You know, I was like, he
Mhm.
can understand what we're saying, but he can't express back how he feels. So but that doesn't mean that he can't learn. He's just learning in a different way than what, we learn. His world through his eyes is going to be different than what we see. We may look at the sky and see blue. He may see something completely different.
Mm. Mhm.
So that was the way it's just like, okay, now she's 10 and her understanding has gotten better. So now she explains to her friends when they come over,
Right.
hey, this is my brother. And she always explains to them before, my brother's autistic. He does like to play, but he's going to tell you hi a million times. He's not, it's no harm. It's just he's very friendly, but he likes to play. And he's going to follow you around because he's curious. He wants to see who you are, what you have, hold your hand. That's just, who he is.
Yeah.
So now, with us explaining it to her, she explains it to other people and she corrects them,
Correct.
especially her friends,
Okay.
when they
Yeah.
say things that are disrespectful or things that she don't agree with about people that are on the spectrum. She corrects them and let them know that's not right. You don't tease people because they're different. We're all different.
Hmm.
And we all do things differently. We learn differently, we speak differently, everything. So it's not polite to tease others because they are different.
Right.
You need understanding, love, and acceptance. You love them and you accept them for who and what they are and what they can and can't do. And
I mean, and I think just to piggyback on the questions
Mhm.
Stephen asked, and well, she answered. It was challenging. I mean, each families and friends. People have big questions and they ask this and ask that, and but I think for the most part, the support has been really good. From like I said, I'm gonna be honest. From very support has been very well from my wife's side of the family.
mhm.
They've been very good. They taken to him. They everybody. They love Carmichael. They treat him like nothing.
Yeah, they treat him
And
like a person
person. Yeah.
versus like
You got
versus a they
you
treat
know
him like a person, not a disability
right,
or a burden.
right, right. And then on the flip
Good.
side,
Good.
we had some members that that
They're not as accepting.
are not accepting, don't know how
Mhm.
to deal with it. They don't know, what is this? What's going on? I don't know. You can see they just kind of frozen when he comes around, stuff like that. So
Yeah, they're tense
Mhm.
because
tense,
they don't
you know.
understand.
And even though you try to make them be comfortable, I guess they have to be comfortable in their own shell. But I think as time goes on and we as the parents continue to fight for Carmichael and explain his situation to family friends that come around. I,
Right.
I, I think eventually people will open up, and when they see other people, how other people act, and it's a common thing, and it's human nature. When you see how other people react and handle situations and do things, then you'll pretend you will open up. You'll be like, oh, okay, well, you know what? Man, I see how this cousin plays with Carmichael. You
Right.
know what?
Mhm.
It's not that bad.
Right.
I can do this.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that part hasn't been really challenging.
Right.
But
Because kids play,
yeah,
so
that part hasn't been
Mhm.
challenging. And I think from family wise, we have got a lot of good support. You know, from afar and from close, from nearby. So yeah.
Good. I'm glad that your family has been supportive and that your daughter is standing standing up for him. I love that. That's amazing. Now, you mentioned that you kind of recognize signs being a teacher and, developmental wise, you noticed something was, different and was able to kind of take action. How would you say, having this child who is on the spectrum has changed your outlook on life in just general with what you've experienced?
um
Can can I? I have to go get a charger because my wife don't know how to charge phone.
I did charge my phone.
So I gotta go get a
Sure.
charger. Or we're gonna lose y'all.
You
Okay.
can go get the charger. Yeah,
She can answer the question.
you're ridiculous. Um, well, my outlook with having a child that is on the spectrum, um, my because my outlook in the beginning was very bleak.
Mm. Okay.
Um, there was a lot of relief, but also an overwhelming amount of sadness
Okay.
because I mourned the childhood for my child that was lost. You know, so the outlook didn't seem as bright. I kind of felt like my light bulb dimmed. It's just like I prayed for this baby. I got this baby. I got my boy. I was excited. Then, then it's kind of like you got hit by a bus. It's just like I felt like a lot of what I had prior to with my first child was stolen.
Okay.
Um, because a lot of his first, because it was during COVID. So even with that, trying to navigate through all of that, a lot of his firsts were going to look a lot differently than his sisters. So
Mm-hmm.
like, the first walk, first time going to school, making friends, sleepovers, birthday parties, not mostly, yeah, mostly his birthday parties, but also his experience in life was not going to be the same as my daughter's experience. So where she was able to go to school and meet and make friends freely. So with him having that barrier, I mourn. I mourn every night because I knew my child's life was gonna be hard. Right. So my outlook was very dark. And every night I would sit up, and Nikki can tell you, I sit up literally every night, and I'm trying not to cry. I set up every night researching on what's wrong with my child. It can't just be autism. They have to have something else. I blamed myself. Maybe I didn't do this during my pregnancy. Maybe I ate something wrong. Maybe I took the wrong medication. I blamed myself because I'm like, what went wrong? What went wrong with this pregnancy that didn't occur the last pregnancy? And I set up at night every night thinking, running everything through my head. It's like, oh, I ate this sandwich. Was something on it I wasn't supposed to eat? Oh, I had seafood. Was it mercury in the levels? What caused this? Mm, And I blamed myself. Silently, I blamed myself over and over again that maybe I was the cause because I carried this child for 9 months. And I went to every appointment and I was like, maybe I shouldn't have taken that vaccine. Maybe I shouldn't have, drank this or ate that. It was just like, I don't know what more I could have done. It's just like, maybe I shouldn't have worked. Maybe I should have went on bed rest. Everything.
Mm.
So the outlook was very dark because I knew that his life experience was going to look totally different. So,
And I mean, it is.
and it is. So it's just like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I picked up, I drop him off at school and I pick him up and I watch parents pick their kids up. And they're walking out, they're talking to their kids. My kid doesn't talk to me. Right. So it's just like, I don't know how his day was. I don't know if he was sad. I don't know if he was angry. I don't know anything. I don't know who he played
We
with.
don't know he has friends. We don't
So
know.
it's just like, if you have friends, who are your friends? Who's your best friend? What did you guys play today? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm listening to parents have this open dialogue with their children as they are leaving daycare. And I had that with my first, but not with my second. It's just like, I don't know how his day was at school. I just know I pick him up, I drop him off, I give him hugs and kisses, and I pray that he has a great day.
Yep.
And I pick him up in the evening, and all I see is him smiling on his face. And my aunt used to say, well, he's smiling, just take that as he had a great day. I was like, I don't know his thoughts. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
anything
Right.
of
Okay.
how he's feeling. I don't know what he dreams about it. Like my daughter would go to sleep at night and wake up the next morning and tell me these awesome, beautiful dreams. I was like, and I sit and I watch my son at night and sleep. And I was like, what are you thinking about? What are you dreaming about? You know, like,
Right.
so the outlook was very dark because of that. It was a lot of mourning for months for me with that. So as I got over that hurdle, I started telling myself, because watching all of these TikTok videos about parents going the same thing, because I thought, maybe is it wrong for me to feel that maybe that it would have been better if I didn't have this child. And I felt
Mm,
that way. And I prayed that, Lord, let him wake up tomorrow and just be normal. But what is normal? But it's just like, what can't he just let him wake up, and one day it just clicks and all the words that he's in have inside just come out. And I prayed every night, and those prayers went unanswered. So I grieved, and I felt like it was unfair, that it was a mistake, and it was so much of a burden. And I asked God all the time, why would you give me such, you know, why would you give me all of this? Because it's a lot to deal with on a daily. And
mm,
I've always heard elders say, the Lord only gives you what he feels that you can handle. He only give you so much. You're strong, so he'll give you what you can handle. And I took that, and I say that every day. He's not gonna give me no more than what I can handle. He's not gonna give me no more than what I can handle. I can get through this. We'll get through this. We'll work. And as time went on, services went on, I worked with him religiously. We worked with him religiously. I worked with the family, taught him sign language. He learned sign, but still no words. But I said, something, I'm not gonna focus on all the things that he can't do. I'm gonna focus on all the things that he can do and what he can learn, because he's capable of learning.
Mhm.
We just have to find the way that he learns. We have to figure it out. We have to learn him better. We have to watch for the cues. We have to watch his body language and work with him, instead of trying to force him into a space where he does not fit. He doesn't
mhm,
fit. So we
mhm.
can't, he's not cookie cut. So
Right.
we can't make him fit into a mold that was never made for him in the first place. So we have to accommodate him, and we have to evolve
Mhm.
Mm.
for
Thank you for
him.
being so honest with
Yes.
that. Thank
So,
you so
Yeah.
much.
you know, like, so my priorities change as far as my career and my
Mhm.
family, and being intentional, instead of focusing on the negatives of his diagnosis, and focus
Focus
on
positive.
all of the positives.
Mhm.
And it helped me get through that. Now I don't have those dark days. All I see is progress. All I see is him thriving. All I see is the love,
Good.
Mhm.
and all that he can be, not all that I wish he would have been,
Mhm.
or what I want for him in the future, is all that he is right now. And I'm here right now. What he will be in the future, I don't know, because I'm not there yet. And neither is he. So I can't keep focusing on, I'm gonna do this because the future him. I know he's not, because I'm missing everything right now, worrying about what's down the road.
Right.
What, like, oh, maybe he's gonna talk down when he's this, when he's that. It's like, that's future Carmichael. Future Carmichael I haven't met yet. But I'm here with present Carmichael. So I'm gonna be intentional with him right now,
Mhm.
and be present with him right now, and focus on all the milestones he's making right now. And then when we get to that future part, then I can look back and be like, man, you've come a long way. I remember when we were doing this, and you X, Y, and Z. You got it. We taught you how to ride the bike. We taught you how to eat. We taught all that. Now look at what all you have done and accomplished, and look at you now. But we're not there yet. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
We go a long
it's a
way.
long ways to go, but we'll get there.
For
one,
sure.
one, one step. Yeah.
I think we have a comment. Tiffany Bird, who's your aunt, has said his cousins were also sad when they found out about the
Yeah.
diagnosis. Yeah, it was just one of those situations. And I like to say, I was disappointed the last time when I visited. He actually didn't come around us. He went and took our son and hung out with him, and
Yeah.
forgot all about us. Because normally
Hey,
we're the ones who are the apple of the eye at that
Yeah.
time.
you're not cool
And
anymore. You're not cool anymore. Your son's cool.
I
Steven,
felt so bad. No,
Steven's
that hurt.
cooler now.
That hurt.
You know,
That
you
really
know, you
hurt.
know, you know. It's funny you say that. Uh, I guess you could say like I was saying myself. Initially was saying, um, I, jokingly told her this one day, and I said, man, uh, I can never play catch with my son because you know he he's it's not there. Um, I will never get that because I never had that. So I was like, something I want to do with my son.
Right.
Being a fan of baseball so much and stuff, I was something I wanted. When heard I was having a son, um, I was, oh man, that's because it's gonna be cool to do. But like she said a few minutes ago, but now we have
But now
something.
y'all play catch.
Well, now we do, but
Y'all play football. Y'all
yeah,
y'all play catch.
yeah, that's my little sports buddy. He's starting to come around, but you know, now you find the different things in him to do, and you bond with him over that. And I think that's the cool part about seeing his growth. And that's any child. I mean, every child is not going to be
Right.
different, like what you might like or whatever. But for a child on the spectrum, the things they like or the things they get involved in, um, you kind of
You basically let them. They're guiding you
they yeah,
instead.
yeah, they got you into that, and then uh I kind of find sometimes like if he is having a bad moment or a bad time, you take that knowledge and you use that to maybe make him coping as a coping skill or make it better. Because I've noticed when I like if he's having a bad day or bad time, I say, hey, buddy, you want to watch some baseball? Or you want to go hut or swish for basketball? And he'll be like, yes. So I'll go look a video up online, or YouTube or something, and put some on, and it calms him down.
Oh, you want
Um,
music too?
on music, or vice versa. He's becoming. We have Mardi Gras here in New Orleans, and he loves the marching bands. So
Okay.
I gotta find a drum. I gotta find the drum sections on bands. I go YouTube like Southern Band and my high school, which is a big band here in New Orleans. They have a great band and a lot of local bands, and I look them up and I put it on, and he'll just watch it for hours.
Right.
But it calms him.
Right.
It's you find what I think kids that deal with stuff like this, you have to find
You have to
you
find a
as a
niche.
parent, you can't force what you want them to work on them. You have to let them teach you, and then you take that and use that as your tool for them when they're having their bad time, or
Mhm.
they like she said, his bad feelings, or use that as his coping skill, and use that as a as a tool of communication as well too, because that can help us communicate with him sometimes.
Right.
Mhm.
So um, I think that has been the biggest growth for me as a father, and he has um, taught me a lot of patience, a lot of
Okay.
patience, and you have to have a lot of
You have
patience,
to have a
a
lot of
lot of
patience.
patience. I can give you 24 hours with him, and you're gonna come back and like, yeah, you know what? You gotta have some patience and
Yeah.
energy.
Okay.
Yeah.
He can be a handful. And but hey, at all times, he always has that smile. And that smile will get you
Oh
doing
yes.
anything he wants. Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
And there's this part now. He has to grow up and be get formalized into real life situations.
mhm.
And Denise, you talked about the way you go to school. He goes to school, you pick him up, and you don't know what his day was. um Now we're going to the part where he's growing up and he has to get into learning some type of skill. How do you advocate for your child's needs within the education and this education system in New Orleans, and also about in the community settings? what has the what has it been in Louisiana that has been able to make it easier, or is it harder to have him integrate into the educational system? I know he loves Mr. Blimpy when he's having fun, and I know this for Halloween he dressed up with his teacher as
Yeah.
Blimpy, which was kind of cool. Um, those are some of the things that we see as from the outside looking in.
Hmm.
But then you are the ones who advocate for him in terms of his school real life education. Can you tell us about that?
Well, he's about to start in this.
But I mean, he's been in the school system.
Right.
Well, this would be his first year in a traditional school setting.
Yeah.
He's been in, early childhood education for since he was 3 months. So he's not a stranger to being in an educational setting.
In the public settings.
Yeah, in a public setting, and he does well with public settings, whatnot. But far as once I got the formal diagnosis, advocating has been hard.
Mm.
Not hard because I don't do it well. I do it well. It's just
As a,
it's just the education system. Once again, the hurdles and the hoops. So talking, we do IEP meetings. Once we got the diagnosis and we got all of the services, there's IEP meetings like every quarter. So we go in and we see where he has progressed and we build on those skills. We see where he kind of fell off on certain areas and we keep them on it. So it's always updating IEPs, tweaking it a bit to challenge him a bit more, um, searching for new services that he may need or and he may qualify for
or might benefit him.
or might benefit him. Yeah. So,
Mhm.
but it's hurdles.
Yeah.
It's so if you mention something, and my aunt teases me all the time, she's like, I go to the doctor. I go to the doctor literally with a binder, and the binder is like a 3-inch, 3-ring binder with stacks and stacks of papers and IEPs, requests, research, everything. So I go. That's my Bible. When it's time to go to war, because that's how I see it. I'm going to war. I put my makeup on, and I go. I get out there and I fight with every tooth and nail that I have for him because I'm his voice.
And I think too, like, with the education system and uh right now, like I think one of the challenges we have at the school he's at right now is constantly changing teachers.
Right.
So you don't, your child gets used to a certain teacher or a certain person, and then they either, life happens, that person quits because they get a better offer somewhere else, or they get moved, shuffled around in the school, and they put them
Right.
in another that they take the teacher from him and put him with
With another
another
child.
child, another group. So so now it's taking your child. You have to relearn that teacher style or get comfortable with that teacher, and
Mhm.
they open up and learn. So, and then each person has their different way of handling. I say handling the kids in the different cases. Like she just mentioned, him going into a traditional setting coming up here with the next school year starting after the summer. That's probably going to be interesting. Because
But I'm ready for war.
we might have to circle back on that conversation later
Yeah.
because I mean, it's all. I'm gonna be honest with you. We're both products of all these public school systems, and I'm not saying it's bad. We turn out okay, but the system is challenging. It's tough, and
Mm.
there's a lot of hurdles to jump through in all these parishes for
But in the system, there's not a lot of support for
support. Yeah,
children
yeah.
with special needs.
Mhm.
So
Because we still live in a time where I still believe we still live in a community, time, city. There are people kind of sweeping under the rug. It's something that's talked about. It's like the whole mental illness crisis going on in the world. And people. It's a stigma to talk about it.
right.
So I think kind of still we like I mentioned earlier in the podcast that New Orleans is an old city, so it still has old ways and a lot of old things. So I think it's still a stigma to talk about autism or bringing up or anything. And I think that's why a lot of kids, not just my son, because we're fighting for it, but there's a lot of kids out here that
About not being
get
diagnosed
overlooked or
or
get diagnosed.
misdiagnosed,
I
right?
mean, I coached ball for a couple of years at a park, and me having a son, I've seen some of the signs in 12-year-old kids that I was like, man, nobody's doing it, nobody's saying anything, but it's like, you know, because it wasn't caught or it wasn't a
But
stigma.
then
We're
it
not being
comes,
talked
but
about
then
in
it
household
comes, it
laws
also comes into parents don't want anything to be wrong
with their child.
with their child.
Right.
So other people can see it, but if the parent is not the one that's advocating and seeking services, then that child does not get any help.
Right.
They struggle throughout life, not,
But
not
it's
ever really knowing what's wrong. And then they become adults and still have this problem and they don't know what's wrong.
But it's sad that we live in, like, I don't want to say in today's society, but also too, like, in the school system that you have these school systems that you got policies and procedures in place. Like you mentioned earlier, if you see something with a child, you should stand up and say something. Bring it
Mhm.
up. Um, it's the same way. If you see anything wrong, you bring it up. And unfortunately, I know and then it goes to, then you got a whole other ballgame when you talk about funding. They'll tell you there's no funding
Right.
for
Yeah,
this,
there's
no
no
funding for
funding.
that. So that's a whole nother topic to talk about. And they're gonna tell you this and that. Well, we can't have this in school. Or you got one certified teacher trying to take care,
Yeah, they're stretched thin,
service
the entire
maybe
school.
entire school, and then she has to go do on the side other kids that she might have under her program that she does. So
Mm. Mhm.
there's not a lot of teachers for it either,
Right.
or educators or providers to give you these services. So I noticed that's the struggle she deals with too. Because I can hear her say, "Man, there's nobody out here for this or nobody out there for that." It's like, hey, you were thinking, we 2024 that you will have not to say abundance, but you'll have a little more than just one person
You
or
have
two
more
people
support.
more
Mhm.
support.
But there are schools that have them,
Right.
but that's like
The waiting list
a
is
like a needle in a haystack, or
that
like
too.
finding a diamond out in the field somewhere. So it's when you do find it, it's just like, oh my goodness, but it may be inconveniently located. Like
Mhm.
we live in New Orleans and the service may be in Baton Rouge. So it's like, well, that's not logical. I can't get that service because I mean that's a 45 to an hour ride. So going and
Mhm.
coming.
Right.
So it's like, okay, what can I find that's closer? Can I find someone that can come to the house? Can we do telemedicine? Can we do anything? It's just like trying to find avenues to kind of close the gaps. It's just like I know you guys are there, but do you guys offer virtual? Can you guys come to the house? Do you have a clinic that I can meet you in the city? Do you guys have like a partnership with someone else who does the
Right.
same service? It's like, can you
Mhm.
refer me out? So it's just like, and when you ask for them to refer you out to another service similar to theirs, you get kind of pushback. It was like, oh, because they want that money.
The
They
funding.
want that insurance money
Right.
from you. So asking them to refer you to someone else who, can service you, it's kind of like them losing money.
Right.
Mm.
So, and they're hesitant with, even giving it to you. They'll either tell you, no, we don't have anyone, or they'll send you on a wild goose chase.
Correct.
So, but lucky enough for me, I was able to tour a bunch of schools in the area that, had support for my son for the new school year. That was my biggest concern, was making sure I put him not just in any kind of educational system, because it was like, okay, I want him to be in an all inclusive school. I want them to be not just with children that's typical
Mhm.
or atypical, because right now he does ABA with, children who are also on the spectrum but on different, levels. So he doesn't get a lot of the socialization as, say his sister or his peers do, where they go and they're all playing outside and they're all together. There's not much inclusion. So with searching for a school that had that, the support had to also be there for him, because like
Mm.
he's already behind. So I don't want to put him somewhere for the sake of, oh, he's closer home, he's socializing with other kids, but he's not getting the speech that he needs. He's not getting the occupational therapy that he
Right.
needs. Lucky for us, we were able to find a school that had all of these services and more.
Right.
You know, I called, I toured the schools, I asked questions, I went to open houses, I literally harassed everybody, everybody via email, via phone,
Mhm.
text message, everything. Because if I'm not beating their door down,
They're not being
they're
yours.
not beating mine down. They're not
Mhm.
looking for me. I want them, but they're not. They're not necessarily out there saying, "Hey, we want your child to come to our school." It's not like a college or a high school draft where
No
people.
recruits.
There's no recruits or scouts looking for your child to come to their educational facility. So
Okay.
you have to get out and
there's
get it.
there's nothing saying, hey, if you have a child with this and
Right.
this
Hey,
disability,
we have the
we have to go.
services here. Come into our school. Come see what we have to
Mhm.
offer. No one's doing
It's
that.
on the last page at the bottom of the
In
booklet.
very fine print
Oh,
that you
y'all
have
offer
to
that? Oh,
use a
okay.
magnifying glass to really find it.
Oh, you offer that? Yeah.
Oh, like, oh yeah, we do offer them. Like, okay, but I mean, that should be at the forefront before extracurricular activities and all of this stuff. It's just like, oh my gosh.
Um,
Wow. What I'm finding interesting is as Jen is talking, give you the question, and you guys are talking about all these things that you're doing to advocate for Carmichael, your son. Um, I do notice you have gathered a vast amount of knowledge regarding how to take care or how to navigate all the spaces for a child on the spectrum. Now, what would you advise with regard to a parent who has had a diagnosis of autism, who's very new? Did you go into Facebook groups? I know you say TikTok. The TikTok should be paying you for this.
I think
And you've
okay.
done. Go ahead. Sorry. Go
No, I'm
ahead.
sorry. My fault. My fault. My fault.
All right. So you've done all this. You've gone through you have all this knowledge right now with you. You must have gathered it from somewhere. There's that Facebook, the Facebook, the TikToks, maybe Instagram, and online. You find all these resources. What would you tell to somebody who's found their child newly diagnosed?
mhm.
How would they navigate to whereby they'd find all these services or get some help?
Breathe. Breathe.
Okay.
Take a lot of deep breath.
Yes, breathe. Take it,
Mhm.
take it in,
Patience.
internalize it. You know, I'm not gonna say accept it for what it is because doctors do get things wrong. And have patience, have determination, be persistent, be vigilant, advocate because it's like you say, you're your child's voice. If you don't speak up
No one
and
will.
get out there and do the work, no one else will. Once you get your diagnosis, that's it. That's their job. Their job is done. Their part is done. Now you take the ball and you got to run with it.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
you're the only one out there running with the ball. They're just passing it to you, but you have to get it to the end zone, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's an end zone that is
Never actually.
always moving.
Yeah.
It's always moving. It's there's you never make it there.
Mhm.
You get closer, but you never make it there. It's just one more
Yeah.
yard. And it's just breathe.
And I
It,
think two things. Support. I mean, you might have
yeah,
single parents out there. You might have parents,
right.
whatever the case may be, their situation may be. Find someone that in your
Find your
family or your
village.
circle that support.
Right, because
Support is big because I mean, look,
you can't do it
I'm gonna
alone.
be honest. 100%. This is the rock. She has took the ball. She has ran with it. She has did it all. I get my knowledge from her, Steven. I don't look for none of that stuff. That's my encyclopedia. She tells me, she sends me the videos. I'm at work. She texts me paragraphs of stuff. I read it. Text me article. I go to the doctor's appointments. I get the stuff. You know, I sit up late at night struggling to keep my eyes open, but I talk to her, support, listen
Mhm.
to what she has to say, but also too listen to what is being told. I say support and just you know you have to
Have an open
you
mind.
have to keep your strength and just
Yeah.
keep your strength. Don't give up on your, don't be give up on your child, but also don't settle. Like she talked about, whatever the doctor gives you,
Don't settle for
don't
that.
settle.
Yeah.
If it's even if it's the great, it could be the best information in the world. Still don't settle because there is, like she
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
said,
You have to
the
do your
analogy she
research.
just
Yeah.
gave, it keeps going. It keeps going. It's more, the more you dig down a rabbit hole,
Yeah.
the
The
more you
deeper it
find.
goes.
There's
Yeah.
other services. There's other support groups, Facebook groups. You mentioned Facebook, TikTok. There's
Right.
all types of
Mhm.
stuff out there, social media wise, that has opened up the world on that. And I think, I think that's the key. You find your support and just don't settle. I think that's the two things. I would say, um, because I know for me as being a father and being a husband, I have to support. I have to support her, but at the same
Mhm.
time, I got to support my son, and I have to be there for him. And then you're just not gonna settle. At the end of the day, you don't settle because you want your child to grow, continue to grow, and you want your to grow, and then you want to make it. You want to make it. I guess you want. I don't want to say easy in life, but you just want to make your situation a little more less stressful than when
Right.
it, because it's going to
Mhm.
be stressful.
It is gonna
But
be.
whatever you can do to make it less stressful and have them nice where it's chaos, you have the
Beautiful chaos.
you have the strength and the willing to get through it all and everything. And I think that's the biggest
Your
support. Like I
support. You
said,
find your
husband,
village.
wife, or you get your village. Your
Get your
village could be your
village.
community. You could be
Right.
your friends, your family.
It could be a support group.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
been in several support groups, looking online, research, find things that are in your area around and in you because going online and just Googling and searching to see what's available to you, what's available around you, because there are parents out there online, doing the same thing you're doing. It's just like, I don't know. They gave me this paper. Now what? So it's just researching and finding.
In this
Mhm.
podcast, whatever goes, how far this
Right.
podcast touches or goes, somebody can come across and look at it and say, I was looking for a video like this. Because there's been Facebook pages or TikToks came across, I was looking for information like that. It
Right.
goes for anything you're
Mhm.
looking for.
Right.
I mean, you looking
That's
for a
true.
recipe. It goes for
That's
recipe. You
true.
start digging down whatever.
Search,
You
yeah.
learn how to, y'all learn how to do podcasts. Y'all didn't just go look at the first video and say, oh, that's how you do it.
Right.
You studied and became. So I think, this platform that y'all have and y'all using the platform and the asking this question on this episode and everything, hopefully it touches somebody and they listen to just what we go through on a daily basis,
Right.
you know.
And we go through some stuff on a daily basis. They
But you
have
gotta
beautiful,
smile
yeah,
about
you
it.
have to smile about it. It's chaotic, but
Definitely.
Yeah.
there are chaotic days, but there are beautiful days. So it's like
Mhm.
days
Mhm.
goes off without a hitch, you know, but that's life,
Yep.
you know. Take
It is.
you take the punches and you keep on rolling. That's all. You just keep rolling.
All right. And we have a comment here. Tiffany Bird has said, awesome insight provided by the Bonvillians.
Well,
We thank
thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you kindly, man.
Thank you, Kyle.
Yes. I appreciate you sharing and being so transparent and honest. Definitely have to wipe some tears when you had cut
I
the
know.
camera because you're definitely touching, our hearts, and we definitely want the best for you. And I think you demonstrated that just because your child is going through this doesn't mean that they can't thrive. And I'm definitely hopeful for that. Share about that.
Right, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Um, and I know earlier you talked about how doctors kind of told you, oh, well, he looks this way or looks that way, and those misconceptions and stereotypes. Can you speak to the piece about stereotypes or misconceptions about autism?
Well, the misconceptions and the stereotypes. People that children who are all on the spectrum are not slow.
Hmm.
They're smart and they're very in their own way. It may not be a way that we understand, but they understand it completely. So the misconception is because they are autistic, they can't thrive.
Right.
That
They got to put in the bubble.
yeah, they literally get put in a box.
Yeah.
It's just, people see my kid out, we're in the store, he's moving around, he does things that most kids do when they get in the store. They run around. They see an aisle and they take off. They run, they touch everything, he still has that mindset of, hey, I'm a kid, I'm gonna do what I do in the store, but um they look at him and they, hey, how you doing? They want to immediately hold conversation. And I was told by an older lady when she kept saying, hey, how you doing, little fella? And he didn't speak. And she was like, he's very rude. Maybe you should teach him some manners. And I had to tell her that he does have manners. He's on the spectrum, so he does not communicate the way you would like him to communicate. He will tell you hi, but that's about the extent of that conversation.
Right.
So I'm sorry he didn't, speak to you the way you wanted him to speak to you. How he spoke was just fine. She said,
Mhm.
yeah, well, I guess everyone's autistic these days. And I just
Wow.
kind of looked and was like, well, I guess everyone is. I mean, hey, lack of understanding. So the misconception is because he didn't speak to her the way she wanted, or um that she could verbally abuse me because I didn't teach him any manners. So parents of children with autism need respect.
Okay.
But children on the spectrum also need respect because at the end of the day, they're still people. They still have feelings. They still have emotions. Just because they can't convey
Express it.
them or express them the way you see fit does not mean that they're undeserving of your respect.
Mhm.
So the stereotype of children who are disabled, you know, mentally, just because you can't see it doesn't mean that it's not there.
Right.
So because he looks like the typical child and he's smiling and waving doesn't mean that he's normal or he's typical or he's, rude or disrespectful. He's just different in his own way. He learns differently in his own way. So the stereotypes of people on the spectrum, they they need to throw that out the window because it doesn't it, no two people on the spectrum are alike.
Mhm.
No two people are alike. You know, my child makes awesome eye contact, but because he does that, he he looks right at me. I look right at you. A dog looks right at you. I mean, what does that mean? He can't be autistic because he makes good eye contact. Oh, he's sociable. Oh, he likes loud noises. Okay, he's not your typical autistic, but he's on the spectrum. He
Right.
just happens to enjoy loud noises.
Yep.
That's his
Mhm.
stimulation.
Stimulation. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
his sensory seeking. He loves the louder the better. You know,
Mm.
the more chaotic things are, the better he is. Like, the
Okay.
house can be burning down. He will not run. He will be so excited that there's a blaze of fire going off around him. But that's that lack of danger, that lack of fear. So it's just like,
Mm.
it's just the stereotypes of what people put people
On the spectrum.
on a spectrum in. It's just like, okay, I got this box. All autistic people stem by swinging arms, flopping, rocking, and moaning and groaning and everything. If you're like that, you are autistic. If you're giving good eye contact and you're sociable and you're friendly and you're initiating, interaction with other people, you can't be on the spectrum. He's gonna
Mhm.
outgrow it. He's just what to say. He's just being a boy.
That was like, I think that was like the first one of the first doctors or pediatrician, I think, kind of said that what she was
Yeah, he's
saying.
just being a
He's
boy.
being a boy. He makes great eye contact. He hears everything. He's perfectly fine. It's like come on. I mean, yeah, you seen this here, but there's other things that we
Like there are
telling you
things that you don't see here that is at
Mhm.
at
home.
home, and we telling you, and we giving you the information, we passing everything down. But it was like the first doctor was just like,
It felt
again,
like we were blowing things
just
out of proportion, like we were looking for a
it's
diagnosis
just
for
yeah,
medication to receive a check.
check, yeah, yeah. I've heard
So
that many,
that's the stigma and misconception of
Okay.
that.
yeah,
People coming
Hmm.
to tell you, oh, your parent coming in saying that your child was diagnosed. Is the first question the doctor asks you, well, who told you that?
right,
Who told you your child was autistic?
yeah.
What makes you think or feel that your child is autistic?
Oh, a favorite thing is don't Google it because whenever you Google, it's not right.
I'm like, well, I'm not
Mm.
Googling anything.
Check
It's just
right.
I'm telling you what my child is doing at home, and I'm seeing red flags, and there are many. The
Right.
milestones. It's like, oh, he's gonna grow out of it.
Yeah.
So you're telling me he's gonna grow out of not wanting to crawl, or not
Mhm.
wanting to walk, or he's gonna
Mhm.
grow out of not, sitting up properly, or feeding himself with a utensil. He's gonna outgrow all of that just
Hmm.
overnight. And I need nothing because they look at it as like, oh, they're just in here to get, an evaluation because, like everyone else, they're trying to get a check. Everybody's not wanting or needing or desiring to live off the system, you
Mhm.
know, or
Right.
using their child as
Porn.
a pawn to receive some type of benefit. I'm like, where does it benefit me in saying that my child is autistic and putting that crutch and that label on him, such a hard label at that,
Mhm.
to
Sure.
receive any type of monetary gain?
Yep.
As a parent, I couldn't go to sleep at night. I couldn't have that on my
Right.
conscience to know that I limit my child by putting a label on them so that I can benefit monetarily.
Right.
Like, why would I do that? But I know that there are some people that, abuse the system,
Right.
that makes it hard for others, that are out actively
Doing it right.
doing the right thing and are in desperate need of answers and help. And kids are just not getting it because of the misconception of everybody's wants to check. Or the stereotype is, your child has to be doing X, Y, and Z in
See,
order for them to be diagnosed as autistic.
right.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, you had me laughing over here when you said that the house can be burning and Carmichael will be happy about that.
Yeah,
I
he'll be
mean,
happy.
Jen, you need to be around him. I know
Okay.
we were supposed to have this on Wednesday. Unfortunately, he had a meltdown, so that's why we didn't come on. And for those who see me laughing, I totally get it. I've been around him. He is that fun-loving person. I mean, when the garbage guy comes around, he's at the window looking at the guy. He wants to stand at the window to see where he's at and to like, okay, there he is. He has other things that make him unique. And
Mhm.
this is some of the things that I would like y'all to tell us, Denise and Nikki. You know, how do you celebrate your child's unique strengths and accomplishment within his world of being in the spectrum, and beyond? Uh, yeah, just share with us, please.
Well, we celebrate Carmichael every day. Of course, when you have a child that's on the spectrum, everything they do, everything that they do, it's either a surprise or a celebration, especially if it's something that they don't usually do. Something as simple as he said candy the other day. Remember that? He was like, Daddy, candy. And we were like, oh, did you hear that? He said candy. It's like, say it again, say it
And
shit.
then he's like,
And it's just like, no. I'm like, what do you mean candy? But then he'll come like hours later and I guess it's like, okay, they made a big deal of this word,
Mm.
candy. And it's like he said it. It was like, yay! So he loves the praise. So it's like we
Okay.
fist bumping. We give him fist bumps.
right. High
We'll
five.
call family or text family and hey, Carmichael said this today. Or, the first time he told me, love you, mama, I cried. So it's
Mm.
like, because I've never heard that. It's, even the first hug. Remember when he was like, he wanted to hug everybody. It's just like because he never hugged. You're like you'll go for a hug, and it was like it was weird for him because he's like, I don't know what to do. But then he just came up and he's like, hug. I was like, hug. I dropped everything. Dinner was burning on the stove. I had to turn it on. I was like, I just wanted to hug him the entire
Mhm.
time. And Nikki came home. I was like, he's giving hugs. He was like, huh? I was like, asking for a hug. He was like, oh, Carmichael, hug. And he's like, hug. I was like, so it's always like a celebration and things or milestones that he meet that's that may be something not as important or what's the word I'm looking for, not a big deal for other people because it's just like, oh, he just gave you a hug. I was like, but you don't understand.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like it's not something you get. So when he's willingly initiating any kind of affection toward you, because my little boy, he kind of jagged on around the edges. He's not the most affectionate, and you can't just be giving him hugs and kisses unsolicited because it can
Right.
become a problem.
Right.
He has to initiate that contact. So when he does, it's like, oh my gosh, stop everything. We need to sit here and we need to get hugs from Carmichael. I don't care that it's 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. He's giving hugs. Everybody stop. Get some hugs from this boy. It's something. I'm like, so we celebrate all the milestones, and
Mhm.
even when
Mhm.
when I go to support groups, I brag on them. I'm like, hey, and it's like, hey, what did your kid do this week that they didn't? I'm like, hey, my kid drank out of a cup and he didn't spill everything everywhere, or he ate with his
Mhm.
spoon. Finally.
Hmm.
But I celebrated in the autism community by spreading the knowledge, the
Mhm.
strategies. I give them to other parents. Potty training was by far the worst experience with him ever. And any parent that is potty training a toddler knows that it's rough, but when you have a child that's on the spectrum, it is like 20, 100 times worse
Mhm.
because the lack of communication,
Yeah.
the lack
Okay.
of the cues, it's a barrier because you're trying to get them to be in sync with you and they're trying to get you to be in sync with them. So everybody's butting heads. So it's like, come on, we're gonna time it. And first child we, got her to the toilet and it's just like one time, two time, three times, she was done. This was like over the course of what, maybe 2 years?
Still doing it somewhat.
Somewhat. But we got him in underwear. And
Yeah.
a lot of parents,
Yeah. Yeah. We do. Yeah.
yeah, we have him in underwear. And a lot of parents who have children that are on the spectrum, they know exactly how hard it is to
Yeah.
potty train a child on the spectrum because of there's that barrier of them knowing their own body and to feel when they have to go versus you trying to condition them to get there. And it's just like because your time frame may not be their time frame. So it's
Right.
always off.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'll touch on that real quick. I met a guy who, through another guy who has a child. And I think he said 14, 15 years old. The child has to wear the pins because they can't get, the toilet. And I'm like, I'm sitting here thinking about Carmichael. I'm sitting here telling him about my son who's 5. I said, well, I got him standing. I finally got, Carmichael to, stand at the toilet like a young boy
And
and
go.
stand up and go instead of sitting down. And like she just mentioned, he's in underwear. And I'm like, man, we really made some progress.
Right.
And in my head, I'm celebrating. I'm like, man,
Right.
we
You
did something.
proud.
We
Like you
doing
did
something
something
good,
right.
And it's like, oh, I'm like, huh. And it's like I just walked away, like just kind of like surprised, but also too just like proud as a proud parent. Like, hey, Carmichael did this, but at the same time we did this because it's something that we can celebrate as well
Right.
too, and
Mhm.
um, uh, but
But the knowledge that I got to help potty train him, I got it from someone else
yeah,
via the internet.
yeah,
Another
Okay.
lady who
yeah,
she had a child that was autistic and she potty trained her son. So I used her method because what we were doing was not working.
right,
So once we literally got that going with him, And we achieved that victory with getting him 100% potty trained, where he doesn't just put urine in the toilet, but he also drops, he always goes and relieves his bowels as well. But he's in sync with his body to know when he has to go.
Right.
And versus
Hmm.
us cueing him and letting him know, hey, it's time to go, it's time to go, hey, it's time to go. Now we backed off, and because he can tell us now, it's just like he'll play and then he'll stop and say pee. It doesn't matter if it's pee or poop. If he says pee, you already know he has to do something in the toilet. So,
Hmm.
but for him to communicate that and let us know, I mean, that was a huge victory
Yeah,
for
that was a
us.
huge victory
Yeah,
for
that's
us.
So,
growth. Definitely
so with the
growth.
knowledge that
Hmm.
I gained from someone else, I used and I paid it forward.
And I,
Yeah, so my coworker, she has a son that's, younger than Carmichael, he's 2. And she's in the same situation with trying to potty train. So what I did, I paid it forward and told her how I got my son potty trained. And she used that same information, and her son is potty trained.
and I think it
So
goes back to what I mentioned earlier too, the
yeah,
support. I mean, being around Uncle Stephen, he can test to this. You go by their house,
right.
you know, you come back and tell him, he'll go grab somebody,
He'll grab
pee,
anybody.
and I'm going, take me to the bathroom,
Right.
like, and I think the first couple of times we went by Uncle Stephen their house and then for a family function, so what is Carmichael telling us? But then once you told him one time, hey, that's what Carmichael's doing, he's gonna come to you and grab you.
Right.
Everybody caught on. And like
Right.
I think Uncle Steven said a comment came in earlier about the kids, even the kids even the
Right.
cousins have even paid
They're kind
attention,
of in sync
paid
with him.
attention to
Yeah.
him saying, okay, come
Mhm.
back and tell us speak, go. So I think that was a big celebration victory for all of us.
Right.
Because and we all celebrated on that as a family and within our community,
Right.
inside the family. And so I think that was one of our biggest unique strengths that we overheard. And some of the words, some speaking, some words. He don't formulate sentences. So I think that day when that day comes,
We're
that's
working
gonna
on
be
it though.
that's gonna be a celebration there.
We have one sentence. We have one sentence.
I,
Mama hold me.
mama hold me.
Mama hold
Oh,
me.
nice.
Yeah. That's his favorite sentence. That's about the only one. Mama hold me. And he'll come up and Mama and I say he'll say Mama. I say yes, Carmichael. Hold me. 'Cause I was like, okay, I'll hold you.
And I guess you could
Just
say hi, my daddy.
hi,
Hi,
my
my
daddy.
hi,
Hi,
my
my
dad.
Gigi.
Yeah. But yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh, that's
appreciate
nice.
that. Yeah,
So, Jen,
and I
this has
just.
been
Mhm.
a very interesting conversation, and
Yeah.
I did. I want to point out, yeah, you all made me teary eyed too at one point in time in this conversation because I mean he's a wonderful boy.
He
I've spent so
is.
much time with him, and we're always going to spend time with him, and he's always a fun person to be around with, and everyone has their special bond, and I think Jen,
Yep.
um, when we found out that he knows the differences, the males around the family, there's
Yeah.
I have him and I, we always say hey, and then he goes hey, he knows who it is. I'm surprised he hasn't woken up right now to be running on the screen on the background.
Oh, we're
Well, we're
downstairs.
downstairs.
So
Yeah.
No,
I'm surprised he
okay,
looked up.
okay.
I'm surprised he's not screaming at the top of stairs looking for us. But Stephen,
Uh-oh.
Right, right. I was waiting
Stephen,
on that. But yeah,
but the
there's
touch,
that
the touch on
uniqueness.
the touch
Mhm.
on what you just said about his uniqueness. We found, and I knew this for sure. You speak on the men in the family, the males. The males, not just in the family, but me. I got close friends that are like brothers to me. All of them, he has all unique ways of understanding who
Who
they
they
are.
are.
Like my best friend Nick, he knows when I say, "Hey, Uncle Nick's coming over," he says, "What?" Because Nick loves football, so he knows he associates
Mm.
Nick with football, so he knows what. I say, my brother Uncle Titi, he goes, "Vroom,"
'Cause he has
on
talk.
cars. I said, Uncle Gus, "Vroom, vroom, vroom, vroom." He does the
And he goes
motorbike
hat.
and
Yes,
hat.
Uncle Gus
Uncle
has
Gus
the
wears a
helmet.
hat, the helmet for the motorbike, and he does the little
Okay.
vroom. So you say that, and he does. He does
He
that
has
for
his way.
all the
Yeah.
men. he knows something different. You say Denise's brother Dave. He called when you say Uncle Dave. He goes, he's a
Because
Dave
Uncle
always sleeping.
sleeping.
He's always sleeping. So he knows the uniqueness of every
So
person
he picked out a
has a unique,
characteristic
you
about
know.
all of them,
Right.
something to simulate.
And he knows like Aunt Tiffany's TT. When we say we're gonna buy TT, he knows we're gonna go
Yeah, you said TT
TT.
because he
So she's
associates Uncle Steven
Steven,
with
yeah. So he said,
TT. So like
hey.
TT on the phone. You said TT on the phone. He go, yes, TT is
Yeah.
on the phone.
So
TT on the phone.
he has his associations for different people. And that's a
Okay.
uniqueness and a strength that we've picked up and we learned
Right.
that we know who he's talking about. He might not be able to tell us indirectly their names, but we know when he makes the noise or the sound,
Right.
that's who he's talking about.
Right.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Hmm.
nice.
So that's
And
that
Tiffany
was
has a
something that we
comment.
celebrated, you know.
Yeah.
Your aunt Tiffany has a comment here. She says, "What would you say that within the community that you have all above average support?"
What was
Say
it?
You
that
want to?
again.
Okay. Would you say that within the community you have above average support,
We have above
over and
average
above,
support.
over and above average support?
I would say within our family community, yes.
Hmm.
I would
Okay.
say yes. I would say yes. When it comes to the community outside our families and friends, I would say that it's still a work in progress,
Right.
and it's probably
Hmm. Hmm.
below. I don't want to say it's not.
It's not average, but
It's
it's
plateau. It's like in the middle, and then it's like right below that. So it's not below average. It's like middle average, but like still a little in between below and middle. So, but I would say yes. The answer for family support and friend support, is above average because we get, like I said,
yeah, because a lot of I've seen a lot of TikTok videos with parents that are saying
they
that
cry.
they're alone.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, once they've received their diagnosis of their child being on the spectrum, they get alienated.
Yeah.
They get alienated not just by family but also by friends because
Wow.
there is a misunderstanding. There's the stereotype of the way autistic people people or children
Mhm.
behave,
Hmm.
um, and they're not as accepting or understanding.
Right.
They're in denial, or it's too heavy for them.
Hmm.
It's too overwhelming. The lack of not the lack of information, but the amount of information, the extent of the information, the heaviness of it. As a parent who has a child that's on the spectrum, you need that support and the understanding to know that you are not in it by yourself. you know
Hmm.
luckily, I'm not even gonna say luckily, it's a blessing that we have the family support that we have, because a lot of people don't have it. Like I said, they get alienated. Their friends
Right.
leave them alone because it's just like, hey, my child is like this, or if the people don't alienate them, the parent alienate themselves away from everyone else, because once again, the grief of I'm watching my friends' kids grow up in a way that my child will never grow up.
Yeah. And that.
I'm watching their children reach milestones, and I'm hearing them ooh and I and complain about, oh, my kid said all of this. It's just like, my kid said nothing to me today. Oh, my kid threw the food on the floor. I mean, I wish my kid would do something. Oh, they peed and
Hmm.
pooped everywhere. It's just the things that they complain about is trivial,
Hmm.
because as a parent who doesn't have the opportunity to experience those same milestones, it's seen as disrespectful, or um inconsiderate, because it's just like you're sitting there complaining that your child is a chatterbox, or that your child won't stop doing whatever, playing with toys. I'm like, my kid doesn't even play with toys.
Right.
Like, my kid
Hmm.
just dumps everything out. I wish they would make believe play. Oh, my kid wants to play with me. I wish my kid want to play with me.
Right.
Right.
It's
Right.
like the things you're complaining about is like, You don't understand. It's just like you're a parent that's wishing your kid had those same milestones, and you're complaining about them. So either people isolate the family, or
They
people
isolate the kid.
or parents remove themselves away from it because they don't want to see that.
You know,
Because it's
Mhm.
hard. It's a hard pill to swallow to see everyone else's kids thrive and grow and have all of these milestones that they're reaching and have all of these life experiences, and your child is just kind of like they won't experience it the same.
Right.
and I think,
Right.
So
and I think, to piggyback on what you said, one of the things is, was we got the family support on it. Surprised me a lot with support was, I have a lot. Stephen, you know me. I know a lot of people. I have a lot of friends and a lot of close friends. I was very surprised. I was taken back of my male counterparts, my good friends, the support I got from them, I get from them on a daily basis. I mean, I got good friends that, they'll come watch, come Michael, come sit here with come Michael just to give me and Denise to have dinner, have a dinner date. you
right.
know, um, uh,
Mhm.
and they come in and they open arms, they accept call Michael, they play with him, they
They treat
hang
them
with
just
him,
like
they
any
treat him
other
like family and a
child.
kid. They don't
Right.
ice. And I have the same. I got a core group of guys. They have been very, you know, 100% supportive of me and Denise, and also too on the flip,
Good. Good.
and also too on the flip side of that, and I'm very surprised, which has caught my attention lately, and I haven't told her this. I'm telling this for the first time, has been my daughter. She's on a cheer team. She has her own little world, her friends and all that. But we have become friends with parents of these girls and stuff. I've noticed the parents of my daughter's friends when they come over and visit, they accept the Carmichael. They
Right.
they have created a bond with him, a unique bond with him, and they look for him. Hey, my buddy, how what's up? How you doing? They accept him in there. So that has been very, and they've been supportive. So that has
Mhm.
been very uh I guess you could say refreshing, and that it wasn't like a turn off to them or I don't want to hang with them
Right.
because they got this other kid that's like
Like,
this.
oh, his behavior, I
Yeah,
can't deal with
you
it. It's
know,
just like,
or they didn't like tell tell their child not to hang with my daughter because they got so that was very that has been a very refreshing thing because she's coming into the age 10 years old, getting to the next
Mhm.
phase of her life, getting
Mhm.
that
Right.
teenage age, getting close to that age, and kids can be rude. So
They can be mean.
Mhm.
mean. So I that was very refreshing to see the support from the parents on that part, and that has been pretty awesome too. And just
But even her friends, because
even the friends, yeah, even
yeah,
friends, yeah,
they're
even
interacting
yeah,
with it as
friends.
well.
So that has been very cool and refreshing, and just um, I guess you could say take a little sweat off the back. It's just like, you know, but
Good.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you have that support. And as you may have gathered, guys, some of us and the Bonvillians are, a part of the village together.
Right.
So I love that you have him and his wife in your village. So that definitely warms my heart that you have supportive family members along that same line as we kind of round out our conversation. And we appreciate you guys sharing so much too.
Okay.
How
Sorry for taking
can
up all your time.
yeah, oh no, we love it and we appreciate you being so open and honest and sharing. What you've shared so far lets me know that, there are a need for more conversations like this, more resources. So that kind of definitely got the wheels turning on the need for this conversation because we had thoughts about how do we do this and how do what it's going to look like,
Right.
and just having the conversation is just enough
Right.
really because like you said,
Mhm.
it's it's a stigma. People don't want to talk about it.
Right.
Sometimes people start acting different. But what can friends and family that just want to support and love on you guys, what can they do?
Hmm. I mean,
Uh,
what they haven't done already. I
yeah,
mean, they've given support, they've given the love,
yeah,
they've given the
yeah,
acceptance, the willingness to learn.
yeah. The willingness to learn, yeah.
Yeah, because I know when I was teaching him sign. And I got in our family chat and I was like, I'm gonna teach y'all all sign. I'm gonna teach y'all
Okay.
all sign language because
Yeah,
he's not verbal speaking, but he's picking up on this, sign language a lot quicker than the words. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna do videos and I'm gonna show y'all signs. And then remember, I think the first time we all got together and Carmichael was doing signs and Auntie Betty was like, what is it? What is it doing? What is it doing? What is it trying to say? It was like and all
Okay.
over the place. I'm like, okay, let me show you what he has. He has a few that he's using so y'all know what he's trying to, tell you guys. So it's
nice.
just, the acceptance and the love and the willingness to learn him.
Right. And I
Mm-hmm.
just say keep open mind. That
Right.
would be that would be the biggest thing. Just anybody, there's anybody out there, just keep open mind with you come in contact with, you know, if you come in contact with my family, or you come in contact with somebody out in your community. Um,
Be kind.
be kind and just have an open mind. Don't be
Right.
quick to judge. And it goes for anybody, any
Cause I'm not gonna
situation.
lie, I get judged a lot when
Yeah.
I'm in these grocery stores and my kid is in there screaming
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, you can hear him more than you can hear the music playing in the stores, and I'm just walking around like there's nothing going on because I'm used to it now. It's just like it's second nature. In the beginning, it was embarrassing and overwhelming. It's just like, oh my god, everybody's watching me, and they're like, she can't take control of her kid. But then it's just like, nah, it's just like, yeah, you watching? Oh yeah, he's on screen. He's loud and he is very loud. I know. I'm like, oh, Carmichael, you're so loud. And he's just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I'm like, whoa, 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 with him. And they're looking at me. I'm like, don't judge me. Don't judge me because you don't know. You don't know the journey because it could be a heck of a lot worse. At least he's just doing this and not trying to trash the place.
And I
So,
and I think, just the next thing would be, if you see an event out in your community anywheres, like we just had a walk, we did an autism walk here in the
right.
city, in our
Oh.
local
Hmm.
community here in New Orleans where we live at in our neighborhood. But if you see that in any state or any community you're in, I think you should
Yeah,
you should
you
join
should
it.
join.
Just go do it.
Hey.
Volunteer your time, or anything just to help out.
Gain
Gain
information,
information because
right?
they're at the end of the day, like she said
It's
earlier,
a vast of knowledge out there, but
they're
but
people
there's
like
a
us.
lot of misinformation as well. In the
Mhm.
cloud of the
Mm-hmm.
good, the universe has to balance out. There's always the bad. There's always people out there trying to sell you a quote unquote cure for autism.
Mm. Okay.
So you have to be, mindful that there are the naysayers out there that feels that, autism is something that's made up, something that it doesn't exist. But, you know, people have done research for years, gone to school for years to find that there is something there. But, other
Right.
people, like you said, that's a good part of the internet. And then there's the bad part. It's just like kind of like Neo in the Matrix. It's like, which rabbit hole you want to go down? It's just like you take the red pill, you
Mm.
take the blue pill. It can be good or it can be bad. It's your choice. You know, the further you go down, the more you're gonna find.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
educate yourself on the good.
Yeah.
Don't focus on trying to find a cure or trying to fix it or trying to make it go away because it's not gonna go away.
Right.
So you just have to have a lot of accommodations, love, understanding, acceptance, and do your research, ask your questions,
Mhm.
request everything you can find, everything you can think of.
Patience.
Patience, yes, a
Patience.
lot
And,
of that.
I think the biggest thing I think a lot of parents might do that I think we had to learn, and I know I've learned myself. Don't force your child. Don't force your child because they
Mhm.
have their own spectrum and the way they do things. So
Right.
you as a parent or adult gonna try to force something on them.
Mhm.
They learn the way they learn. They learn, and
You have to march
you
to their
have you
beat.
march to they be, and you just take what you're trying to implement and just revamp it to help them.
Right.
And that's it. And I think it will make it for a smooth transition. And I think that's what she has done to help me grow, to help her family grow, and our circle grow. yeah, it's work. It's work. What we doing? What she's doing? I'm gonna say what she's doing, because what she's doing is working.
We a team.
Yeah, we're a team, but what she's doing, she's laying the foundation, and then I got to give her where credit's due, and so mom has been the foundation for all this, and like I said at the beginning of the podcast, support. That's what you just need in any situation, anything with this, you're gonna need some type of support, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Sambaza?
Oh, I, y'all
Sorry,
just
it
summed
almost
it
taking
up.
2 hours of your day.
No, we had a good time. I think this
Yeah.
conversation needed to be had. I don't think I've had this conversation with you guys. I think I started the conversation the last time I was at your place when we started figuring out, what you guys
Right.
go through. And I
Mhm.
think with what you've given us is still part of the same. It's an extension of what we started off with me trying to learn about how you cope as parents. And I think this came at a very good time when we're discussing this because, like I said, some parent out there or somebody who's out there that needs to know this information will get a chance to know this information. As we grow, you know, all we have to do is to tell somebody, as one of another podcaster says, tell somebody to, let somebody
Right.
know that
Mhm.
there is something going on here that we're discussing on, like being on the spectrum. Now, when this video goes out and all the people who like and subscribe to this show get a chance to see it, they will see what kind of amazing job you guys have done so far. And you see, Jen, you're coming from outside looking in. I'm part of the outside. I get the special seat. To be around them, to see this young man grow from where he was to where he is right now,
Mhm.
and it's a progress. It's a great progress. And when Nikki says Denise has laid the foundation, I guess this goes back to remember that conversation we were having with Miss Tiffany B and Denise back in women's health. You
Mhm.
see, the women are the ones who lay the foundation to it, and us men, come in and help out. Yes, um,
Mhm.
we, we do a good job. Both of them have done a good job, and they become a team together. So, we'd like to celebrate you guys on this
Thank
podcast as I give you my last word. Y'all have done a good job from where we started and from where you started and where we are right now. And we'll continue to keep cheering you guys and say,
Yeah.
hey,
Definitely.
y'all are doing a great job.
thank
And
you, thank
Yeah.
you,
thank you for actually coming on to the
Yes.
podcast. I mean, hey,
thank you,
wonderful as always.
thank you,
I was
thank
gonna say when you initially sent the request, I was excited because I was like, somebody want to talk to us about autism? Like what? Like, oh, what they want? They gonna put cameras in? You can come on in, come see what we deal with. It was like you see the reality, the harsh reality of it. It was like, come on in, I'll open the doors. I was like, but
Okay.
no.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
We enjoyed
awesome.
our
Oh
time. I
yeah,
enjoyed my time.
it has been an honor.
Yeah,
Yes, it has.
We appreciate you all. And yeah, so we wish you all the best and definitely have an open invitation if you want to come back and share anything else.
You
and
know, we're always open to come and talk to somebody.
yeah, and
Yeah.
Uncle Stephen knows me. I got a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience. I've been through life, so I can sit and talk for hours.
Okay.
Right.
So anytime y'all want to
Indeed.
talk, just call me up.
Right.
We
All
will.
right.
We will.
All right.
Definitely. All right. Well, you all take care, and we appreciate you again,
Thank
and
you.
give our love to Carmichael.
All
I
right.
do.
We'll give it to you in the morning since he's sleeping tonight.
Y'all
Yes.
have a good night.
All
All
right.
right.
Y'all have a
All
good night.
right. Bye.
All right, guys. Let's see.
So, Jen, what do you think about the conversation?
I thought it was pretty great. And, thank you, Sambaza, for sharing and opening up your personal village to the listeners. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. And I do appreciate your questions. I mean, you're the one who came up with the questions and all that. They were very insightful. and
Mhm,
I've
mhm.
learned a lot just by asking those questions and what we got in return. It's it's been awesome. It's been awesome. I've loved this session.
Definitely.
I can say, yeah, got me a little bit teary eyed too at some point, but
I know.
yeah.
I wasn't
I mean, you got to meet
expecting
this young
that.
man. You really got to meet this young man
Mhm.
and see how he is. He's a he's such an awesome boy. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
you can
yeah,
tell that there's a lot of love there, and I love that. I'm glad that he is, has loving parents and village in tow to support him. So that definitely is part of the emotion that I feel too, knowing that okay, he's going to be okay. You know what I mean?
yes,
Because you have to wonder and be in concern of so many of other. Children dealing with this who don't have the support or they're out here in the world on their own. We can think about poor RIP Elijah McClain out here and face the untimely um death and for people not understanding the way he communicates and things like that. But don't don't send me down a different rabbit hole of
no,
my woke my
yeah,
wokeness. um
no. There's one thing that I'm going to mention in this show. Maybe it will probably come up again when you do a recap. But I
okay.
think from learning from him, the other day I was doing some refing work, as part of my community work,
Mhm.
and I did notice there was a boy playing soccer, and you know the cues by now, having known Carmichael, and I watched the boy in awe. So this boy was told to play the as a defender. He did his job. He would kick the ball away. Then in the second half, guess what? They made him a goalkeeper, and you know the responsibility of a goalkeeper. He just stood there on goal and would jump on the ball whenever it came through, but they never scored on his turn. Actually, the goals were scored in the first half when he
Okay.
wasn't there, right, at goal. But in the second half, when he was a goalie, they could score on him, and I found that really really special. Even yeah, I wasn't refing; I was on the sideline, but it was a sight to remember, and I will not forget that as part of my learning process. So
Mhm.
yeah, that was the story I had to tell.
Well, thank you for sharing that. We appreciate that. And we will go ahead and conclude this great episode. Lots of great information shared. Um, salutations and greetings to the Bonvillians who were so wonderful and great. And my wheels are turning on. We have to do something for the Bonvillians, but we can talk about that later. I've got
Right.
some ideas. Okay, guys, we appreciate you for tuning in. You can catch the replay, and the audio episode will be available in a few short days. So, with that, we will see you next time.
It's gonna be Wednesday now for sure,
Next time,
right?
and take care.